This is the control panel. To turn the heating on, you use this switch here. To decrease the heating, use these controls here. To increase the heating, use these controls. The machine will not start until the temperature has reached at least 160 degrees. This is the feed change start on, which starts the main track. This button stops the main track. With all heads in off position, this position, yeah, select heads required. This button, inverter start, starts the heads running. This button stops the heads. If there's any power failure, this light will illuminate and you must press that button to reset the machine. This is the selector switch for the edging. Coil edging, 2 3mm edging and solid lipping edging. This selects the guillotine for coil edging and 3mm PVC edging. This starts the buffers. Right. This is the pre-milling station for machining the board prior to edging. This adjustment here adjusts the amount you require off the board up to 2mm. Ready? This is the tape feed zone. This holds the tape in position to the pressure roller. This adjustment here adjusts the amount of glue needed on the panel. This is where you top the glue up. Never allow the glue to go right to the bottom, as it will burn the glue. This guillotine here is for the 3mm PVC only. This is your tape thickness adjuster. You adjust this to the thickness of your tape. This guillotine is for coil edging, like this on the machine already. These 3 rollers here are your pressure rollers. Yeah? If you have 1mm edging, you set this counter to 1mm. If you have 2mm edging, you set it to 2mm. So this counter has to be set to the thickness of edging that you are using on the machine. This locks the pressure rollers. This station is your snipping unit that cuts the front and back edging of your panel. It uses a tracing bar that follows the front of the panel and cuts off the required amount. To increase or decrease the amount that you take off, you adjust this setting here. It says on there plus or minus. There are 2 of these saws. This one here does the front edge and this one here does the rear edge. This unit here is your rough trimming head. These two here adjust the heads in and out. These two here adjust the amount you take off by adjusting the tracing wheel up and down in relationship to the cutter. This unit here is your fine trimming head. Again, these two adjustments here move them in and out. These two here take more or less off of the product. These can be adjusted with a spanner there in a vertical or in an angled position, depending on the requirement you need. This here is your scraping units. This adjusts them in and out. This adjusts the amount you want to take off. These are only used when using 2 and 3 mil edging. They scrape a radius on the edging. This here is your buffing units. This is to clean off excess glue after the panel is finished. Again, you unlock here and adjust here and here to bring up the height. You should not have too much pressure on the panel with these, or you'll wear these out. This unit here is your gearbox drive for the main chain. At the end is an emergency stop button, which if depressed must be turned and reset. This adjustment here is for the height of your panel required. So if it's an 18mm board, you would set that just under 18mm. This adjusts the height between the track and the top track and the bottom track. When you pass a panel into the machine, this light will illuminate and this little orange plunger will come down. Until that plunger goes back up, the next panel cannot go in. This is to allow the snipping saws enough time to cut the edging. The machine is now set up to do coil edging. We are going to pre-mill, end rough trim, end trim, rough trim and fine trim and buff the panel. So we'll now start the machine. To change over from coil to PVC edging, you have to do this procedure. This unit here must be removed and placed in this position. This unit here must be removed. You then put your 2mm or 3mm edging as required into the tape manifold. Like this. Adjust your tape height adjuster like this and relock. Then this must be undone, this roller pushed to there, relocked. This is moved down just below just above the edging. This switch is then put onto this, which brings in the 3mm guillotine. This switch is put to number 1. You then start your chain feed again, and your heads which you have chosen: 3 milling, end trimming, rough trimming and fine trimming. With a radius on. One thing that is important, you must adjust this value here to the thickness of this edging here when setting this up. For doing solid lipping edging, this is the only solid lipping edging I've got and not a panel to fit it, so I won't be able to show you actually running through, but I will be able to show you how you put this into the magazine and set the machine. So we now take this up, this out of the way, this back off the machine. We then need to take this unit off, being careful that this is very hot. Just cut that. Firstly, this little roller here would have to be replaced with this roller, which is the spiked roller for the solid lipping, to enable it to grip into the lipping to move the lipping. You undo that with a 10mm spanner, pull that off and replace it with the spiked roller. Then the solid lipping is then placed into the magazine. Firstly, opening this gate to allow just enough room for the lipping to go through. You can then fill this area here with more solid lippings. You would then have to adjust this adjuster here to the height of the lipping. You would then remove this piece, and that goes there and adjusts to the height of your lipping. This then would be pushed into that position onto the lipping, but do not clamp it, as it needs to. Once that one goes, it needs to push the next one through when you've got a stack of lippings in. You would then, that is a 10mm lipping, you would then move the pressure unit out to 10mm and then lock it. These saws will automatically cut the lipping off. The lipping should be no more than 30mm longer than the panel, which allows 15mm each end. If it's any longer, it will jam in the unit there and it will bend the saw blade. So it's important that the lipping is no more than 30mm longer than the panel. It would then rough trim off here, and depending on what cutters you put in here, it would fine trim it off to a level. You would have to wind these scrapers with this out of the way, because you would not scrape on a solid wood lipping. You can use the buffers, which are preset, so it will buff the glue off. For the solid lipping on the control panel, it's exactly the same. The heating is on, yeah, but you would bring it into 2 and 0. Buffers on, chain feed, inverter start for your pre-selected trimming motor. There is an outrigger fitted to the machine which can be adjusted by undoing the locking nuts at each end and moving the outrigger to positions. This can extend out for longer panels and wider panels. It's important when doing longer panels that you set the outrigger up. This is the compressed air supply. Your air supply must be fitted to that, and you must have a minimum of 100 pounds air pressure. The electrical supply is at the opposite end. We will show you that now. This requires a 3-phase and earth supply. The machine is fitted with 2 hoods. We've removed the hoods just to set the machine up, but it will come with the hood on for the glue section. This has got a micro switch on this hood and a micro switch on this hood. The machine will not run unless these micro switches are made, so the machines must be in a down position.